Welcome back to the greatest business channel on the internet. It's a lovely day. I'm here at our European business, and I'm going to tell you today actually about the time. Well, there's been a few times where I've nearly lost everything, where the company's nearly gone bankrupt. And one of the craziest times, which had polarity, where the company nearly went bust here to making crazy money only 6 months later, is the time I'm going to tell you about today. And that's the time that I was going to say got robbed. I'm so used to saying get robbed because I've been telling these stories that you guys like hearing about getting robbed. But no, this one wasn't getting robbed. This was in March 2012. I bought £100,000 in bad stock. So what happened is the iPad 2 had just been released, and I bought this crazy, beautiful case called the Ultra Slim case, and I was selling loads of them. And I hadn't tested the case on the iPad yet, but I was so greedy, and it was the first product I had that had really hit, because at this point I'd been doing like 15 grand a month, but this is the first product I had which suddenly was doing like, I think we broke 120, 130,000 pound in sales. It was crazy. Anyway, I didn't want to wait to test the stock, so I got 100 grand's worth of stock en route, and yeah, it was all it arrived and none of it fitted. So anyway, I took the quickest flight out to China that I could. I took the worst examples of those products. I said to this bird who was working with us, I go, get 10 of the worst examples. I'm going straight out to China. I'm going to get a refund. Anyway, I flew out to China to get a refund on these products. I took 3 of them to the factory. I set up at this big desk with a guy who was sat opposite. And I was like, look, they don't fit. Anyway, it was a really hot, like humid place. He tried them on. They fitted. I was like, what's going on? I was like, you've switched them, because I thought he was trying to get out of it. So anyway, then I was like, come back to my hotel room, because I have some more examples that haven't been switched, because I was distrusting enough to think that that was the case, and I was worried. So I was like, right, I'll only leave a section of them here so that if they try anything funny, I've got more examples, because I was terrified that I was going to be stuck with this 100 grand. And I owed it to the factory. I'd had like a little bit of a relationship that built up over time where they trusted me, and they sent me 100 grand's worth of stuff on tick. And I literally had 10 grand in the bank. I had no money. So anyway, we go to the hotel room, and I had no money at that point. So I was staying in a hotel room that was like £20 a night. There was no air conditioning. They all fitted. And I thought, no way, that person at work was just made a stupid mistake, and they put all these working ones in instead of the ones I said that find the ones that are the worst examples of not fitting. Anyway, this is such a long story, but it's like interesting telling the whole thing, right? I was now sat at this place with my friends having some food and having like a coffee, and my supplier says, I'm meeting you tomorrow, you need to pay me now. So I'm stressed, like, no way. I'm in China, like, this is scary stuff. Let's go in, we'll keep talking. I was like, this is scary stuff, I'm in China, I don't know if I'm gonna get thrown in the back of a van. I know I owe this guy 100 grand. I've got all the stock. I'm saying it doesn't fit. He says it does fit. Anyway, I managed to get together $15,000 just to keep the wolves away from the door that day. And when I got back home, they all didn't fit again. And it turned out that the humidity and the heat in China was making it expand a couple of mil. Anyway, he gave me a break on it and let me pay over 6 months, because it was mostly my fault for being hasty and saying send the stuff anyway. But luckily, amongst all of that going wrong, the new products were found, which was the VO, the black and tan, the cute bow case, and then the company was made. So we managed to generate, and that was right. So in the March, I was 100 grand in debt, literally was scared I was going to get thrown into a van in China, to now making £100,000 net in December. And I tell you what, it would have been very easy to have quit during those times. Like in the March, I really thought like, no way, it's over. I got a supplier breathing down my neck. I need to pay him. I can't get out of it. I have no money. And the one product that would have brought me that money, I can't even sell it because it's faulty. But no, luckily, when I was out in China dealing with that issue, I found 2 products, and those 2 products lifted the business off. I had the best-selling iPad case and the best-selling iPhone 4 case in the whole of the UK for like 2 or 3 years. All off of that trip that was an emergency trip to fix up what was going to bankrupt me. How mad's that? And guys, I'm out here in Europe, obviously. I'm going to give you a bit of a tour of the place, and then I have 10 questions asked by you guys that I'm going to answer. Actually, it wasn't really asked by you guys. I put it through ChatGPT. I said what sick business I have. I said how I started 15 years ago, and now we are at a run rate of like £24 million a year, which is crazy. If you've been watching the channel for like 2 years, you know that was £15 million. So we are on the rise. But I'm here in Europe. And anyway, so I digress then. I said all that to ChatGPT and said, give me 10 cool questions that these guys are going to love. So we got 10 sick questions that you're going to get a lot of value from. But here we are in Europe, 4 years since we started here. And now we got a job interview down there, so I don't want to put the person on camera because we don't have permission, you know? But 4 years ago, we started here. We lost over the first 3 years 1 million, and then in the first part of the third year, we lost like another 100 or 200 grand, and now we're actually making money. We did like 1 million in sales last month. It's batshit crazy. We never thought we'd be here. This is our third, well, no, we've had 3 profitable months, and they're actually getting to very good profits now as well, which is crazy. So no one thought we'd ever be here. Here we are, and yeah, it's like magic. Crazy. Dark days. And even when I tried to become a citizen out here, this is how crazy it was. When I tried to become a citizen out here, I got arrested at the citizen's office, chucked into a cell because they made a mistake on my visa. Like they thought that a visa in my passport was fake from Tanzania, but it wasn't, it was real. Crazy. Crazy times. Anyway, come down to my office, I'm gonna give you a tour. But yeah, we are employing now, we have 12 people out here. And we're employing 4 different people to speak different languages and sell in different countries. So very exciting times. And if you watched the channel a long time, you know that at first we just had one of these offices. Now we're pretty much taking over the whole wing. So we've got this office here and the warehouse, but that's where we store all the scooters. This is actually a new office. We got it like 2 months ago. This is my office. You got my Rocket League station. This is where I play. I do a lot of my training here. The internet's not reliable, so I don't play competitive here. Because otherwise, like, I want to launch the controller into the screen. I need to get wired internet set up. We got here the warehouse. Now imagine we did £1 million from this warehouse. Well, actually, we didn't do £1 million. We did under £1 million because we couldn't get all of it out. We're waiting on a few parts that are coming, very specialist, that are being made for a customer, that, so we don't invoice it till it's sent. But we took 1 million in orders, which is crazy. And then, so we got all this office here, which is sick. And then I am moving into this office at the back here. So there's an office, we can't go in there now because we haven't get the keys yet. We get the keys, I think, 1st of September. And then we're moving everything down there. And it'll be nice then, I'll have a bit more of a private office. How's it going, bro? Right, shall we get to these questions? Right, fire away.
Question number 1. How do you turn 1 million a month in Europe into 1 billion worldwide?
I think we just got to do more of what we're doing, the same. So there's a few different pieces. I need to get more suppliers on board, and that's a progress thing. And in the end, we're going to have every major supplier on board. So when that happens, that's going to give us way more access to way more products, way more business. Genuinely, with the network we have, with all the customers we have, if we had the right products, we could do 1 billion right now. That sounds crazy because we're only doing like 24 million run rate as a company group. But that's because we sell like low value stuff, a lot of peripherals. If we were selling like high ticket stuff, like more laptops, more devices, more stuff like that, yeah, we could do 1 billion already. So really, we just do more of the same. We keep building. What I want to do is I want to continue to expand the peripherals business. Like I want the peripherals business to be crazy, but I also want to become serious players with devices, laptops, computers, all that stuff. So that is how.
Number 2.
Number 2.
What's the first thing you do when you enter a new country's market?
I was speaking to Owen yesterday. We got all this wrong. We're about to set up in Dubai, but when we came here, we would just send people from the UK out to man the phones and try and sell, but it didn't work. We did a year, nothing happened, just by sending our best from the UK out here. It cost loads of money in travel. We literally spent like 100 grand on hotel rooms that year, which was just outrageous. And then we realized that, we need native speakers. So the first thing you do is you get native speakers. That was, this business has really only been going 3 years because the first year was spent not doing anything effective. But it is effective because you're learning, but it was pissing money down the drain, put it that way. But it's funny though, I wouldn't change it. Like we spent 50 grand on staff, food at restaurants and 100 grand on hotels. Because imagine this, if you're flying them out to come and do the phone calls and all that kind of stuff, you got to feed people at night. You can't starve them. So yeah, crazy. 150 grand wasted because we didn't employ native speakers. So that's what I would do when we get over to any new office. So when JLC Dubai starts, that's what we're going to do. Next question, please.
Number 3, how did you go from selling on eBay to running a 25 million company?
Again, we just had our finger on the pulse because it wasn't my intention to ever stop selling on eBay and Amazon. It just became a better business opportunity for us to sell direct and to sell in bulk. So we just took the route that made sense. And then the problem is, if we were selling on eBay and Amazon at the same time as selling to a reseller, they go, hey, you're competing against us. So we say, no, 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 no. Since the bigger part of our business is distribution, that's all we're going to do so that everyone can buy in good faith off of us, knowing that we're not going to get undercut by the actual person that makes the products and distributes the products. Now, that's actually a tough thing to do because in 2018, we were only just starting to make a little bit of money. And I decided that in the act of good faith and doing this, it would be more beneficial long term and people would trust us. So us making that decision, we lost some profit there and then in front of us, but in the long run, it made customers want to do more business with us. So it was a good business decision for us.
Number 4, what's the most expensive mistake you've made while scaling?
That was an expensive one, the one I just told you about, the bad stock, because I was like, yeah, just order it, even though it hadn't been tested. The time that I bought $272,000 worth of nitrile gloves, and then the guy just did a runner. That was crazy. Yeah, they're probably the two most expensive. And a business partner who, but that's not really scaling. I guess it's scaling because I was trying to expand my business interests, but yeah, he took a load of money out of the bank and bankrupted the company, and then I had to settle all his debts, and it ended up costing me like 200,000 or 300,000. I was actually looking, the amount of times I've been stolen from, I think it equates to like 600,000 I've been robbed off of, which is pretty mad. £600,000, but all of them gave me great lessons. And I do believe that you have to like have these crazy events to get the good things. Like when I had that bad loss with the bad stock, 6 months later, I was making £100,000 net. But I truly believe if that trial and tribulation wasn't put in front of me, I don't think it would have happened. I'm very like woo-woo. I think everything is there for a reason, and you have to defeat these like battles. But yeah, I think I just made a really long answer to your question. But yes, some expensive things. There you go.
Number 5, how do you hire people who can handle rapid growth?
You just gotta try and look for people who seem like they're good. They're just good people, you know. I don't really believe in like reading someone's CV so necessarily, or looking at their grades and all that kind of thing. I think that you just gotta meet up with someone, get a read of how they are, and if they're good, and if there's someone who thinks big, then you gotta elevate those people, and you gotta get a good team, and you have to empower those people. I know loads of people who get bad results from people who could have been good, and it's because they're controlling or they're not like uplifting. Like, yeah, you have to empower people. I actually think most people have the ability to be good. Yeah. Next.
Number 6, what's the one move that made our European sales explode?
I don't know if there was one. Yeah, I would say when we employed the native people, but it still took literally years until we made money. It was still like looked hopeless at points. I think everyone in the UK, we get this company-wide email and company-wide updates saying the results. I think everyone was thinking like, is James really putting the company in jeopardy and Europe's still not doing no money? Because everyone was very aware that like we were under severe pressure because the investment was increasing out here, and we had a tough year back in 2023 and 2024 in UK as well. So what happened is tough year, couldn't sustain the cash that it needed here, and everyone's thinking like, are these guys just dossing around in Europe? But now, no, look, £1 million in orders in a month, it worked, it's generating cash, it's crazy.
Number 7, what's the biggest difference between a 1 million and a 25 million business?
I would say there isn't actually that big a difference because the hardest part is getting a business to 1 million. It's just the same, you know, it's a war of attrition. I would say that 1 million, you have the sweet spot where you're probably only managing like 5 to 10 people. So your stresses aren't great. I think once it gets like over 10 people to like 15 people, it starts to get very political, start to get cliques. So it becomes a bit of a different feeling of the organization. But nah, it's essentially the same thing. The other thing is, at £1 million, you can be a control freak. At 25 million pound, you can't be a control freak. You have to empower people. So that would be the biggest differences. What else do we have?
Number 8, how do you decide where to open your next distribution centre?
We didn't actually do this. I mean, Dubai, because we want to do Dubai. I love like the Dubai way of living. I think it's a clean way to live. Temptation to like smoke and all that kind of stuff is not there, which is good. So that's why I want to go to Dubai. Also because it makes sense, because it's like the future and like there's tax benefits, all like a million benefits. But when it comes to why do we start out here in Europe, this is the funny thing. We don't even know why we started out here in Europe. Well, we know why. What happened is we had a finance guy called Adrian, and we just said like, yo, can you find an office for us and set up a limited company in Germany? And he said, Germany's going to be hard. It's a lot of paperwork. So we'll set up in Netherlands because it's very similar to Germany. So we said, yeah, done. And he goes, I've booked your stuff and you can come and view this little place in Almelo. We came and viewed it. I was like, yeah, done. And that was it. And now we live here. I've been living here for like ages. It's crazy. And it was from no choice of my own. But I'm so happy we live here. It's like lush. And it's like the most quiet, meek place in Holland. And every time I say to someone I've moved to Almelo, they're like, why Almelo? But I love Almelo. So that's why. And it was just written. I didn't even choose it. And I know Owen says the same. Owen says that, yeah, he just loves Almelo. So that's why and how we chose our distribution center. It wasn't me. It was our finance guy, but I thank him for it.
Number 9, what's the secret to keeping profit margins high when scaling fast?
We don't have high profit margins. We actually are very reasonable. We work with very tight margins, so it's hard. Because you imagine, if you make, say, £20,000 on a few £100,000 worth of business, then your debt book may have increased a couple of £100,000, but you've only got an extra £20,000 of cash in the business. So growth is very expensive. So it's been a very, very slow process. Our margins aren't big enough to self-fulfill the growth. So yeah, we have worked very hard, 15 years in the business, building our cash flow up, being very careful, and that's how.
And number 10?
Yeah.
How do you plan to turn a UK warehouse into a £100 million operation?
We are about to get really, really serious in the device business. We have some new connects and new suppliers where we can actually start supplying devices at a crazy rate compared to competition. So if anyone's interested as a reseller in our devices, make sure you reach out to jlc.tv on Instagram and they'll put you in touch with one of our account managers. But yeah, that's how we go. So UK does about 15 million quid a year in business, maybe like 13 to 15 million quid. But when we bring these devices in at this new premises, which is going to be like state of the art, that is where we'll literally overnight go to 100 million. UK on its own might end up being 1 billion. This whole organization might end up being multiple billions. I've been saying now for the last 3 years that we were going to become £1 billion company. But now the way I see it, it just seems like, yeah, of course that's going to happen because I can see the route. So maybe I should be saying that this is going to be a multi-billion pound organization. I think that would make more sense. What do you think?
I think so.
Okay, that's what we're going to do. There you go. The Queen has spoken.
Oh no.
Beaksy actually started here about a month after those iPad cases came wrong. Crazy. So 12 years ago. Been the glue of this organization. It would have gone bankrupt many times if Beaksy wasn't here. So well done. Anyway, we will see you next time. Enough of this. Over and out.